Force versus precision. Two energies you need to learn to master in life, as in sales. Specifically, obviously in this video, we're talking about sales. So the most direct way that this applies and the way to think about it is raw conviction versus target conviction. Something I'm learning from my coach. So actually, precision will always outbeat not being precise. The same way force will always outbeat being weak, right? But the thing is, if we think about conviction, if the more conviction we can have, the more force we can have. I don't mean being arrogant. I just mean the more power we can have, the better, right? But if our conviction, if our force, if our power isn't precise, if it isn't targeted, then you're just using your energy to try and hope for magic. You're using your conviction in the hope that something will happen. And you're not wrong per se. Conviction does have a good effect. But just because you're pumping your energy levels up and just because you want to make it happen doesn't mean that it will happen if it doesn't align with reality, if it doesn't align with what the prospect wants and needs. And in order to get alignment, that is why we need precision, right? So for me personally, as I started personal development, was something where I learned to be more assertive, more secure in myself, try to be more confident. And so a lot of this was me using force in order to achieve things, or at least to try to achieve things. And I learned a lot of things from that. And I think force is a very powerful energy. Force, power, strength, very powerful energies that you can use. But on the other hand, if you never learn to be precise, if you never learn calibration or nuance, you're never going to have like that finer tweaking that is necessary to achieve certain results, right? There are some situations that might require more force. There are some situations that might require a little bit more precision. Just like in construction, you have a hammer for some tools, and then you have a screwdriver for other tools, and you have like in electronics, like the bolts that you use for welding. Needs to be very precise as well. So it's the same thing in sales. Sometimes if you are dealing with annoying prospects, you can actually use both force and precision. If you are force, you can manipulate energy to really set it in a certain direction and in a truthful, honest direction. And you set your boundaries, and that always will require force. But on the other hand, being too aggressive can also have a lot of negative effect. There's a lot of damage that can happen. So that's where calibration and nuance and precision comes in, right? And for me, it's useful to think about these energies also in my self-development. When I use the more precision I start to use lately, I feel like I don't need to wear myself out all the time. It's a different energy. It's both of them take emotional labor, but force takes a more intense emotional labor, whereas precision takes more really feeling and thinking things out. And it's not as stressful. Depends the way you go about it, but it's a different energy you can use to achieve things. So that's something that can give you more leverage as well. But it's also just that some situations require more force and some situations require more precision. Like if you're in a tough spot and you want to get back and get momentum, probably you're going to use force for that, right? But if you're dealing with a prospect that has a lot of fears and a lot of things that is going on in his head, and like you feel like you really need to be careful that you set things in the right direction, in situations where direction is more important, to go in the right direction, This is obviously where you need more precision. So it's the same thing in sales. And thinking about these two energies lately has helped me both in sales and in life, because I felt like I always had to be like this forceful person, this forceful energy to achieve things. But that's not true. It's one way of achieving things, but it's not everything, right? And I still value this a lot: strength, honor, integrity, force, power. But on the other hand, if you learn to develop finesse, precision, and nuance, then I feel like that gives me more. I can achieve the outcomes that I want more, the specific outcomes that I want more. And the truth is, not everything takes force. Not everything needs to be forced or really. It's not always necessary. Sometimes you just need to feel things out, and things will happen a lot smoother for you and also a lot better for you. And again, that is the same thing in life, with your personal development, with your emotional development, as it is in sales. The way you handle the prospect, the way you handle your own internal state, the way you handle his fears and objections. You need to learn to master both of these energies and perspectives. As I said, like, force will give you more leverage to overcome tough situations. Precision will give you more leverage to reach the precise outcomes. Like, if you need to be careful with direction, you need to learn to develop this as well, right? Because it's not, you won't be able to use it if you don't develop it. But before you start developing it, you need to understand why it's necessary. At least that's the case for me. If I don't understand why something is needed, then I usually don't do it. That's maybe just the way that my mind works, I don't know. But that's the way that I am. That's what I believe. Let me know if this resonates with you. I hope this video was helpful. Check out my next video if you want. Please share any comments or ideas that you have. It would be cool to hear and share thoughts, see where you are, or what you thought. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Cheers.